Do domains and top-level domains really matter in SEO? This is a really common unanswered question in search engine optimization, and I was surprised to see Google give an actual answer. Not a nebulous answer like Google usually gives, but an actual great answer and a concrete one at that. So this person posts on Reddit, on the search engine optimization subreddit, do domains, top-level domains really matter? And the person says, right now I have a .xyz top-level domain for my site. This is because someone is squatting on the .com version of it. Well, they used to use it 10 plus years ago and haven't used it since. I was thinking of being the .com version of my domain, but with a hyphen in the middle of the domain name / website name. The site is relatively small when you relate it to others in the space like ESPN, 347 Sports, Rivals, On3, etc. A part of me feels like the hyphen looks weird / spam, however. I also feel that way about the .xyz lately. I picked .xyz originally because I saw Google's parent company, Alphabet, used it for their website. However, I am running into more and more instances where sites won't allow a .xyz URL to be posted because it's considered spam or folks consider it AI. I am hoping that the full word .com expires at the end of this year, which I think will be officially 10 years so I can purchase it. However, if it's not, is it worth going with a hyphenated route to have a .com top-level domain? So this person is considering doing either a domain, a .com domain that has a hyphen in it, so think bestseo.com, or the person wants to do a .xyz, and instead of the dash, it would be bestseo.xyz. And this person is like, are any of these good? There's been a lot of speculation on this. I've actually given my answers previously, and I'm gonna share my answer at the end of this, but I was so happy to see Google give an actual answer. And by Google, I mean Google's John Mueller, who is basically the public face of Google search algorithms. This is John Mueller's bio on Google. John coordinates Google search relations efforts. He and his team connect the Google internal world of search engineering to those who create and optimize public websites. Basically, he explains how Google's algorithms work to webmasters and SEOs and marketers, but notoriously, Google doesn't give a lot of great advice, concrete advice, but this is one of the times where they actually gave concrete advice. And this is what John Mueller said, and it was such a good answer. He said, I'd avoid free / cheap / minimal abuse handling / mostly spammy TLDs, since domains there can come with a significant burden to overcome before they've been recognized to be reasonable. If you're starting out with something that you want to use for the long run, it's worth making sure you're not trying to build a serious business in an everything goes neighborhood. This is not new at all, and there's no list as far as I know from any search engine, but there are some from services like Spamhaus or other security / spam organizations. Domain names on challenging top-level domains, TLDs, might find that crawling and indexing is slower. Even sitemaps may struggle to be considered worthwhile. You need to show that your site is not like the others in the neighborhood. I'm going to just break that down for a minute. So John is saying domain names on top-level domains associated with spam, like .top or .xyz, might find that crawling and indexing is slower. Sites on these TLDs might find that crawling and indexing from Google is slower, and even the sitemaps may struggle to be considered worthwhile. And you need to show that your site is not like other .top or .xyz, etc. websites. John continues, emails and chat messages might get dropped, and that people will bulk disavow or otherwise filter links from all domains on the top-level domain in an attempt to filter out spammy links. That could happen too. Sometimes people just won't give a do follow backlink to domains on a .xyz or .top or other ones of these. In the past, I had a site that was, I'm not going to give the actual site, but it was, let's say best SEO. And it was bestseo.club, something like that. And I was using .club, and I found that .club links couldn't be shared on, this was old Twitter before Elon bought it. .club links couldn't be shared on Twitter. Any comment that mentioned a .club, and I tested this with even the biggest .club websites, some that had tons of domain authority, tons of natural traffic, even ones that had strong Twitter accounts. But their links, if they were posted in comments, all those comments that mentioned one of those links got shadowed because the URL was a .club top level domain, a .club TLD. And so we had to, you know what? I'll share at the end of this what we did. I'll share it after John's, but I found that out. Some just lots of services will block websites on these TLDs that are often associated with spam. And when John finishes, then I'll share what I did with this and if it worked out or not. So John Mueller from Google continues, if I had to choose between a traditional TLD, like a .com, plus a domain name with 1+ dashes versus one of these often problematic TLDs, I'd always go with the dashes. And better pick a domain name for your brand that's not already taken by others, where you don't need the best thingamabob or typo domain names. The other thing I'd watch out for is that the domain name is actually on a TLD and not a subdomain from someone else's domain name. John Mueller shares all of these different articles, and the headlines of the articles just basically explain what the articles are saying. Google, don't pick cheap domain on TLDs overrun with spam. Google, don't choose cheap TLDs, avoid spam risks. Google wipes out any site on co.cc, and I actually looked at that one. That one was really interesting. In 2011, Google de-indexed all websites with addresses ending in .co.cc from its search results, as it considered their content to be primarily spam or phishing related. So that's what John Mueller means by not a subdomain from someone else's domain name. And then he shares another article, The Perils of a .xyz domain, or another, Fish-friendly domain registry .top put on notice. Wow. Or another, reputation statistics registrars and charts from Spamhaus. So John Mueller continues, again, none of this is new. None of this is limited to SEO. But if spending $2 more will let you avoid a long struggle, I'd recommend spending the $2 more or whatever the price difference between a good TLD and an iffy one. I realize price sensitivity differs across the world, but your time will be worth more than a few dollars it takes to use a good TLD. Are more expensive TLDs always better? No. A lot of the broad usage depends on how abuse is taken care of by the registrar, which takes time and work, and registrars need to calculate that in. What about really expensive TLDs? I don't think you'd see any additional SEO value once you get past the this TLD is generally okay threshold. So basically, having a domain with a dash in it and a normal TLD like .com will be better than one of these exotic TLDs like .xyz. But to John Mueller's point, if it looks spammy, do something that doesn't look spammy. Don't use the dash. So here's what we did. And this answer is now, this is for people who might have one of these weird TLDs themselves, or they're using a dash. So here's what to do. And this really applies if you are not satisfied with your rankings from Google. If you are satisfied with your rankings from Google, you can ignore this. But if you're using one of these weird TLDs or a weird domain with a dash or something, and you're not satisfied, I recommend migrating to a new domain or a new top level domain. And so this is what we did. We had like bestseo.club. .club was getting blocked on Twitter, which was very important for us. We needed to be shared on Twitter. Brought us a lot of traffic. That traffic led to backlinks and more and engagement, all this great stuff. And so we used 301 redirects to migrate. We actually ended up changing. It wasn't just the top level domain that changed, but we used a brand new domain. It was similar to the old one, but it was like, imagine instead of best SEO, it would be like the best SEO or something. It was similar, but it wasn't exactly the same. And instead of .club, we used .co. And that site went to rank for tons and tons and tons and tons of things. Switching top level domains or switching domains, it is a pain. But if you are pursuing long-term SEO, which is what we all should be pursuing because long-term SEO is what gets the best results, then it is completely worth it. And 301 redirects, honestly, it doesn't make it that hard because a 301 redirect, it's just redirects everything from one URL to a new URL. And it transfers most of the SEO link juice that you're going to get. So 3-in-1 redirects, not too complicated, good for Google, good for user experience, and don't be on one of these weird, crazy top-level domains. Look, we've all seen them rank. We've all seen these things rank, but it's not ideal. And if you're doing SEO for the long term, just start from the basics, something that is ideal, which just makes everything easier. And that's what I wanted to share with you on this episode of The Edwards Show. If you want to learn the absolute fundamentals of SEO that gets paying customers, SEO to actually bring revenue, to bring users, to bring leads who are calling you and saying, I found you on Google. I need what you got. My SEO course, Compact Keywords, teaches this exactly. It is about how to do SEO that's not going after vanity metrics, but instead SEO that's actually going after revenue and paying customers. This is a testimonial I got just yesterday. I have been working in SEO for over 5 years and have learned a lot of new things thanks to this course. So if you're pursuing SEO for the long term, you might as well skip to the part where you're actually getting customers, and that's what Compact Keywords is, compactkeywords.com. And that is all for episode 797 of The Edwards Show, 797 days in a row doing this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.